going on, everybody? You see a Jaguar back here with GenJag.com, and the NFL came out with its much-anticipated top 100 lists this offseason, and it concluded just yesterday. And the Jaguars were tied with the most players in this whole top 100 countdown, with 6 players tied with the Minnesota Vikings. They had 5 players on defense, no surprise, and they also had 1 player on offense. Now in this video, I'm going to essentially discuss all the players that made the list on the Jaguars and kind of give a little bit of analysis on it. Just to kind of recap, we had Calais Campbell at number 14, Jalen Ramsey come in at number 17, Bouye at 35, Leonard Fournette at 58. We had Telvin Smith at 67 and Yannick Ngakoue at number 88. So with all that said, let's discuss.
Last name ever, first name greatest, like a sprained ankle, boy, ain't nothing to play with.
Now, I know a lot of people are kind of all up in arms whenever a guy on their team kind of gets rated too low in their opinion. But to me, I don't really take too much account into this list, just because all it is just a extremely glorified and extremely hyped up list. And, you know, it's honestly kind of unsure to me exactly how all the voting kind of gets done. Now, it's obviously voted on by the players, I think, in like the first week of December. And what the players do is they essentially rank their top 20 players in the NFL in their opinion. So I don't really know like how all this is weighted. Like, does a number 1 player on their list get like more total votes or something in the top than like the number 20 player on their list? Does that mean players that come in at like number 100, they got a bunch of top 20 votes? It's just confusing me, because you're gonna tell me that players like got top 20 votes like CJ Mosley, Clinton Dix, like Stephon Diggs, and like Case Keenum, they got a bunch of top 20 votes. It's just a little confusing to me, and just the fact that players, I feel like they're gonna want to vote their own guys onto the list. Like Jalen Ramsey. Who's he gonna rank as number 1 on this list? Probably himself. But is he going through and saying, "Oh, let's look at the linebackers. Oh, I like Miles Jack. I like my guy, but I think Luke Kuechly is a little bit better than him, so I'm gonna rake him higher. I like Deshaun Gibson, but let's go ahead and put like Landon Collins above him." Like, I just don't know how all this is done and like how honestly all the votes kind of get done. But so I just kind of take this with a grain of salt. I really just like watching the highlight videos of kind of seeing players around the league talk about them. I like seeing Fournette waving kind of guys on. Jalen Ramsey just with his shit talk. So all that's just the kind of fun stuff to me. Now, it's also kind of cool just because the Jaguars never really have anybody that comes in on this list. I mean, from the years 2011 to 2014, the only player that appeared on this list was Maurice Jones-Drew, who appeared 3 out of the 4 years on there. In 2015, Derek Marks came on the list. 2016, we actually had a bunch of guys with Allen Robinson, Blake Bortles, Allen Hurns, Telvin Smith. And then, we didn't really have anybody from 2017 show up on the list. Now, there were some guys sprinkled in on the list, like Calais Campbell was on there, like Chris Ivory, Julius Thomas, some players that were on there, but they didn't earn the right to be on there from their play on the Jaguars. We signed them as free agents and they wound up being on the list, so I don't really count that. But the Jaguars had a league high 6 players come in on this list, so that was pretty exciting. Now I'm going to start off with the top player that finished on this list, and that was Calais Campbell, who finished at number 14 overall. He actually jumped 69 slots from his spot last year, and Calais Campbell's a beast. He had 14 and a half sacks this year, 30 quarterback hits, 14 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles, and he got crowned the mayor of Saxonville. He literally renamed basically the city, and really just took on that whole Saxonville mantra of the team last year of how strong that defensive line unit was. And he had his 3rd Pro Bowl appearance, his very first time being on the All-Pro list. He was actually a first-team All-Pro at defensive end, and he's also a second-team All-Pro at defensive tackle, so he actually finished up as an All-Pro on 2 different positions. Now, Calais Campbell had his best year, and a lot of that is contributed by the fact that he moved from a 3-4 defensive end, linebacker kind of hybrid, to a pure 4-3 defensive end, and he really flourished at that position, obviously. He also probably got some help with having Yannick Ngakoue on the other side, really good defensive tackles, and just cover guys that force a lot of coverage sacks. And Calais Campbell, his play on the field is probably just as good as himself off the field. I mean, he's a great leader. He motivates people. He's somebody that a lot of players want to play for. And, he was really hyping up the team even in the offseason. I mean, he would say things like, we got probably the best kind of defense in the league, and you kind of roll your eyes is because coming off a 3-13 year, you're so used to sunshine and rainbows in the offseason. But he really believed it, and look what the team became, man. We were a force to reckon with. We obviously went to the AFC Championship game, and we got a lot of hype going into this next season. So next up on this list, we had Jalen Ramsey come in at number 17. A lot of people disagree with this. They thought that Jalen Ramsey should have been a lot higher, and you kind of make the argument, although it's kind of there's all kinds of really good players ahead of them, so it's just kind of all about who you ask on whether or not he should be ranked higher. But here's the thing. He was the highest rated cornerback on this list, and not only was he the highest ranked cornerback, but he was actually the highest ranked defensive back. So, it's hard to really want to put him any higher if he is like the top ranked at his position at the whole like defensive back group. And Jalen Ramsey, he's just an absolute beast. He came in, he wasn't ranked on the list last year, and he jumps all the way to number 17. And this guy ain't going anywhere, man. He's only seen his best football ahead of him. Just a physical specimen, long arms, speedy guy. He earned a first-team All-Pro honor. He was also got his first Pro Bowl this season, and him and AJ Bouye, definitely the best cornerback duo in the NFL. And Jalen Ramsey is a fun dude to watch. Excellent shit talker. I mean, it's cool being able to have a bully on your team after you've been bullied for so long before that. And Jalen Ramsey, definitely a fan favorite. He's probably the kind of guy that you love him if he's on your team, but he probably kind of annoys you if he's not on your team just with all his sass and stuff like that. But, kind of like your modern day Richard Sherman down south. Now, number 35 on this list is Jalen Ramsey's counterpart, and that is AJ Bouye. And the Jaguars signed AJ Bouye to a pretty fat deal last offseason, coming off of a year where he showed a lot of potential for the Texans, and the Texans never really let him flourish into all that he could be. He came onto the team as an undrafted guy, didn't really get too much play his first 2-3 years, but kind of flourished toward the end, which is obviously what earned him this high paycheck. And really, a signing like this should not be one that really works out, like paying an underachieving player a bunch of money to expect him to be great. But I mean, he did just that. He earned his first Pro Bowl appearance, his first top 100 appearance, and he was also a second-team All-Pro. So all that's really good out of AJ Bouye. I mean, the thing is, Jalen Ramsey, he's just a physical specimen. That's his kind of a pro. But when it comes to AJ Bouye, I mean, he is a great film room guy. I mean, if you look at a lot of his interceptions and even passes that were defensed, he was basically running the routes and baiting the quarterback into throwing the guy the ball. I mean, he was basically knew what route he was running. And, a perfect example is the Jimmy Graham catch in the Seattle game. I mean, he was kind of trailing him a little bit, just kind of waiting for Russell Wilson to kind of fire. And then once he did, he ran over there and just basically jumped in front of Jimmy Graham and got the ball easy. And, just a great film room guy. He's a student of the game for sure. And it's, he's always feeling like he's disrespected. I don't know how disrespected he really is, just being that he earned All-Pro honors, Pro Bowl honors, number 35 in the top 100. He's pretty well respected. Now, next up on this list is Leonard Fournette, who came in at number 58. Now, Leonard Fournette really changed the game for the Jaguars. I mean, the offense's identity basically ran through him. In 13 games, he had 1,040 yards rushing with 9 touchdowns on the ground. In the receiving game, he had 302 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. And this offense is completely different when we don't have Leonard Fournette. And just being able to have he's really the identity of Leonard Fournette. His skills are basically exactly what the offense wants to be, just a hard-nosed, physical football team, and that's exactly what Leonard Fournette is. He's a huge guy, and he literally posted up the 2 fastest speeds in the NFL, so he really has that rare combination of size, speed, and power. But if you're to ask me if I really feel like he deserves to be number 58, I don't know if he does. I mean, if you look at the other two Jaguars that come in after him, Telvin Smith and Yannick Ngakoue, at this point in their careers, I would kind of rank Telvin Smith and Yannick Ngakoue higher than Leonard Fournette, just after kind of Leonard Fournette's first year. Of course, he has a lot more football to play, and he's only coming off his rookie year. And I'm not trying to slight Leonard Fournette, but I think one thing that a lot of players probably respect at Leonard Fournette is just his running style. I mean, he's not a guy that's going to really be like juking you out, avoiding contact. He's a guy that's literally going to be way beyond contact, i.e. Mike Mitchell, and taking that guy on. And I think that kind of thing just earns the respect from a lot of like defensive players. I think a lot of players just kind of respect the way he plays his game, ways he goes about it, and he was a superstar coming out of LSU, and he's still a superstar now. So I mean, Leonard Fournette, he's not like a guy like Yannick Ngakoue who really has to fight to kind of be heard of. As Leonard Fournette, everybody knew about him after his rookie year at LSU. So Leonard Fournette, super excited to see what this guy has the next 3 years that he's under contract for the Jaguars, and I'd expect better things from him coming up in 2018. Now, number 67 on this list is Telvin Smith, and I freaking love Telvin Smith, man. I mean, he's a hilarious dude, great football player, and I mean, when you think of a country boy, you probably think of some, big fat white dude with like overalls and stuff, but Telvin Smith is as country boy as they come, and he's got the southern accent. He's from the boondocks out in Valdosta, Georgia, and he is just an inspirational dude, man. I mean, he really has a very interesting personality. He's great with the fans. I've met him a couple times. He's a guy that signs and takes autographs with all the fans, and he might be like the best weak side linebacker in the NFL now, especially being that, Ryan Shazier is basically paralyzed. I mean, he wants to come back, but, I don't know how realistic that is. But, Telvin Smith is as sideline to sideline as they come. Just perfect for that nickel package. Being able to pair him up with Miles Jack is absolutely lethal. And like Telvin Smith coming off last season, 3 interceptions. He had 2 touchdowns if you include that 1 touchdown that he had in the divisional round of the AFC divisional game against the Steelers. And, he made his first Pro Bowl in 2017, and he's a guy that's kind of fought for national recognition, and he's finally kind of got it, being a 5th round pick out of FSU, a real late round steal. I mean, if you can get a 5th round pick like Telvin Smith every year, you're going to be a pretty damn good team. And finally, these draft picks are cashing in for the Jaguars in the win column. So Telvin Smith, much deserved, coming in at number 67 on this list. Now, the final player on this list at number 88 is Yannick Ngakoue. And Yannick Ngakoue should probably absolutely be higher on this list. 20 sacks in 2 years. Last season, he had 12 sacks. First year in double-digit sacks. He also had 6 forced fumbles. He is a strip sack king. I mean, he can go in there, just really has a knack for stripping the ball out. And he is a 3rd-round pick, and what a 3rd-round pick steal it was. I mean, getting Jalen Ramsey 1st round, Miles Jack 2nd round, Yannick Ngakoue 3rd round. You don't get a better draft than that. And Yannick Ngakoue is just a guy that, he finds whatever to motivate him. I mean, at this point, he's not very nationally known. I mean, when you come out with lists of top edge rushers, he's usually left off the list. It has probably partly to do with just the fact that he wasn't drafted high. It might have a little bit to do with his last name, with his name just being so hard to pronounce. I mean, people are saying Yannick Ngakoue, Yannick Ngakoue. I mean, no one really knows how to pronounce this guy's name unless you're actually like a Jaguar fan. But I love the dude. I mean, he's so fun to watch. Just a speed edge rusher. This guy is a future, and he could potentially be, if he continues his trajectory, be wearing that gold jacket one day. 20 sacks in 2 years is the most of any player in franchise history in that 2-year stretch. So Yannick Ngakoue, him and Jalen Ramsey are top 2 on my list to definitely clear the banks to re-sign these guys to come in for long-term deals. So yeah, that's my little analysis of the top 100 Tom Brady, the GOAT, came in at number 1. Somehow beating the boat, Blake Bortles would coming number 1 in that spot. But that's a conversation for a whole nother time. So I appreciate all you guys for watching my video. And as always, this is UCF Jaguar with JinJag.com. And we out.